Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's question time. It is the last question time of the year. So, hello, everyone. Hopefully, everyone's doing well. If this is your first time here, all this is all about is that you get to ask me any question you want regarding game dev, Unreal Engine, whatever it is you want to do. Okay, this is all you do is put your question in the chat, and we'll try and answer as many as we can within the hour or so that we're here. And that's it, really. Yeah. So hello everyone in chat. Thank you for joining us live. Hello Klaus. Hello Kentucky. Hello James. Jason. Delicious Agony. Hello Nate Bot. Hello everyone. Yes, we're in the festive spirit. This is very really tight in my head. I said one size fits all, but I call bullshit. Yeah. Hope my son is well. Yes, he is doing a lot better. He's off off the antibiotics, and he seems to be doing well. So yeah, all good. So just waiting for Unreal. Ah, there it is. To open up. And we'll start answering some questions from everyone. Before we get started, though, just a reminder, this weekend, if you want to be part of the Christmas giveaway, we are live this Saturday doing a Christmas giveaway, which is an annual giveaway where we give away, I said the word giveaway a lot there, cash prizes to those who are watching the show. I'll answer some simple questions, have a bit of fun, bit of relaxation, chill out. Yeah, catch us live on Saturday for that live stream. If we get a preview of what to expect, you can check out last week's live stream where we went through and started making bits for it. Yeah. Okay. So, don't go on the ground. Klaus Brehans, can you give a high-level approach on tips on how to go about creating UI? Like, do you always start with a sketch of some sort? Do you have all the fun when to nest widgets instead of one? Yeah. So, the best way to think about getting started with widgets is if you have any experience in web development, that helps greatly because you have to treat it like a web page. Because what you're doing is basically nesting things inside their own layers, their own divs, their own panels. So, if you have history in web design and web development, this makes this a lot easier. But when I'm starting off, I kind of do it all in my head, but I'll show you what I kind of do in my head. Boost.com. Let's pick a game. What's the latest one we got? Well, it doesn't really matter really. Let's pick Sonic Superstars, sure, because I haven't looked at this one yet. Let's kind of pick one of these things. Okay, let's pick something like this. Okay, so let me just copy that image and bring it into Paint. And I'll show you what I do, but in my head, I'm doing this. But if you're not used to doing it in your head, this is something you could do outside of that as a good practice. But essentially, what you're doing is thinking about how things are structured. So here we've got a structure, obviously, of a box of some kind, a window. And we've got two animated extras on the bits on the left and the right, which we can then highlight. So the best thing to do is to highlight the various aspects of this design. And we'll nest that in there. We've got this side done. And then we got this side. And then we got Speed Jungle Act. this. So basically, I like think of stuff like this. Basically, I think that's all of it. Yeah. So you sort of highlight these sort of aspects. So if you break down a piece of UI into these individual bits, I mean, yes, we could go a bit further and say this is speed jungle act 1. You can like identify individual bits into here as well, but break it down like this, and you start noticing like patterns. So I usually start with the macro first, so the big items first, and then work my way in. So let's go ahead and just recreate this UI in the engine. So here we're going to have, so this thing sits inside the center of the whole entire screen. So we'll put it on the canvas panel. And it'll be a border. And the border is going to be in the center. And I'll just change the size of it to like 1200. 800. 700. Yeah, I'll do 1300. 1500. Something like that. Okay, so I'm looking at trying to recreate this sort of shape and size roughly. Okay. And if it helps to color code things, do color code it in your head. Or in here, sorry. So in the border here, this is actually going to be a series of 3 panels. So we've got a border, and then we've got a horizontal box in the middle because we've got like this black bit, the image bit, and we've got this yellow bit. So I'll probably put a horizontal box inside of that. And put 3 borders inside of that. 1, 2, 3. Set them to fill up the spaces. And you just change the filling on each one. So this one, we'll set that to fill... actually, don't mind that one being there, but we're going to go 0.5 for that. Maybe actually 0.7. This one would be a lot smaller. Oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that. This one would be a lot smaller. 0.5. Yeah, something like that. Maybe a bit less than that, actually. 0.4. 0.3. Something like that. Brush into the black there. This one, just so you can see the difference, is yellow there. Okay, so that is this setup. And so we break it all down into those elements there. Now, the next bit is analyzing, well, what else has got to go on here? So we've got these 2 buttons on the left and to the right. So as you can see, these are overlapping. But they are also in a horizontal box format. We've got one on the left, one on the right, and we've got the stuff in the middle. So if I wrap the whole thing in a horizontal box, wrap with horizontal box. There we go. And in there we'll put a button. Ooh. Oh my god. There we go. And put another button there. And the border here I'm going to set to fill. And these 2 buttons I'm going to put in a center like that. And obviously I put an image in each of those, but they refer to those little buttons we got on the left hand right. And then the rest of it is overlaying by the looks of it. So all this stuff looks like a canvas panel being overlaid on top of it. And so that's what I'll do. This bit could have its own sort of bit of play act and back into its own vertical box by the looks of it inside of this panel here. So if I go to that border, I'll select it here. And in this, we'll put a vertical box. And that'll be a couple of buttons in there. And that'll be at the bottom. Padding on the left of 100. Padding on the right of 10. 20. 30. Yeah. 150. Padding. And bottom 50. 100. Something like that. play act. Back. And so what I would do is I'd do the whole UI like this. So like a block out. It's just all temporary artwork, nothing final in it. And then I'd go through and start replacing bits with materials, animations, things like that to make it a little bit better. But yeah, that's essentially all I would do. Is you just layer things on top of each other. Hope that's enough. So one thing that's happening next year is that every month there's going to be a UMG based series of videos coming out where we go through and we do literally just what I did, where you take a bit of UI, we deconstruct it, and then put it back together inside of Unreal as best as possible. So yeah, check it out. Coming the first weekend of January. If you want me to do more on that, let me know. But yeah, I think I do. Next up, we've got I'm just gonna pick one at random here. Does anyone know if we can use the skeletal rigging feature in UE 5.03? You can use it in Unreal 5.3, but not 03. Is that what you're talking about? To do it though, you have to enable the plugin. It's skeletal mesh editing tools. You need to turn that on, and it will ask you to restart it and so on. Trying to see. Question from Vincent Redgrave. Question here: how would you go about making an alternate stat system with a UI display? Sorry, I meant changing stat system. So I've done videos about this in the past, but you want to there's numerous ways of doing it. A UI display is pretty basic because all it's doing is just reading data from something. You just need to have the something to read data from. So I would probably do this as an actor component because then I can use it for enemies and other characters very easily. So we'll do like stat component. And in here, you'd have a couple of variables. So you'll have a base level stat, base stats. Yeah. And that'll be a map of strings to a float, maybe, or integer, whatever you want to use. And in each one of these, you just have the different stats. So strength, intellect, dexterity, stamina, etc, etc, etc. So you need base stats. So these are the stats that are based upon your character's level. So as if you have no armor on your character whatsoever, or any buffs or anything of any kind. Then you'll probably have a different variable list. In fact, I'll just duplicate that, save myself typing American. And this would be additional stats. I don't know what to call it. Additional stats, something like that. Yeah, no, I forgot them here. Cool. And this is stuff that's going to come from like armor, potions. It's all basically anything that's temporary. The idea being is that you can you have a base to start off of, and then you have additional stats which can be fluid throughout the game. You could combine them all into one if you want, but I kind of like keeping them separate because then I can display them separate if I need to. And also, if I want to reset stats, I can easily do that too. Like, take armor off, makes it a bit easier to reset them. Yeah, overall, a little bit nicer. And then in the functions, you build out functions. So as I've described before in many other videos and streams, is when you put in new variables, the first thing you want to do is create functions that manage those variables. So we have a function here is get stat. Okay, and in there I could put in a string for the stat I want to look for, and make that output to find stat, and then do the same for additional stats. Add these two together, and then return node. the plus of that, the sum of that. Okay, and so we've got this pure function. I don't make it pure, where I can easily do get stat and type in what stat I want to get, and it will spit it out. And essentially, that's what you want to try and do, is just go through creating different variables for it, functions for it. So you have get stat, then you'll have like add stat, take away stat, reset stat, you know, get base stat, whatever functions you can come up with, you think of them. And as for the UI side of things, the best thing to do with UI is to create event dispatchers to hook this up with. So your event dispatcher would be like on stat updated. Okay, so when you change a stat, you just call on stat updated. The reason why is that you can then do bound widgets inside of here. So all you need to get is access to that component. So you could be like, for example, if this is part of it's an actor component that we're using. So if I get the player character, because this is going to be displaying our player characters one. Ooh, we can get the component by class, and we can get the stat component and promote that to a variable. Stat component. And once you've got it as a variable, you'll notice that if I compile it and select it, if you go down here, down the bottom, you'll see on stat updated is now appearing as an event. So you click on this, and that's a bound event. So every time we call stat updated, it'll update the widget here. So it will update it in real time. And you do it with other event dispatchers. So again, on stat updated, on on stat reset, I don't know, whatever you want to call it for. You can make this go through and just show the stats. And once you've got the stat component, you can read the things, because you can just do stat component, get stat, and output the stat like that. You just put in whatever one you want to look for, and that can be based upon the actual text inside the button if you want, for example. So there's no one way to make something. There's loads of ways to make it. This is just a way. I just thought off the top of my head. But generally speaking, that's the general process I'd go through when I'm making anything from scratch. I think about the variables it's going to have, what functions it's going to have, and then use event dispatcher to think about how I want to hook this up with the UI. And that's basically where it goes. And it adds to it as I think of more functionality to add to it. How's my boy getting on? He's doing very well, thank you. He's doing a lot better now. He's out of hospital. He's got no catheter now. He's all good. Window Cat, is he back? Yep, Window Cat's back. The Loot Goblin, do you know when next build video? I'm guessing you mean the survival series. Yes. I think I mentioned on Saturday or something. This whole month's gone a bit weird because of hospital things and everything else going on. So we fell behind and playing catch up at the moment. So I've been recording quite a few videos recently, and they are on the to-do list to get done tomorrow, Friday, whenever. To get those back up to speed. But yeah, it's on the to-do list to get done. Yep, it's Daryl is asking, how do you do animated menu buttons? Sure, okay. So we'll go back to our menu widget. So let's say I want to make this an animated button, right? In some kind of fashion. Typically, I very rarely use the button as is. I very, very rarely use the button as it is like this. Usually, I'll make my own button. So I'll make a new widget. And it should be button custom, for example. And the reason why I do this is because I can do things like animations and other little highlighting effects that really make it fancy and special. So, for example, we could do a thing where I have a border in here and a progress bar. First of all, you have to wrap it with a button. Like that, there you go. fact, actually, I'm going to get rid of the border. Place with child. Just have the progress bar. And we'll just change the button here to have 0 padding. Background color be null. And the progress bar, I'm going to change the style of the background of that to be none. Okay, and then I would put that in the overlay, for example, and put some text on it as well. Put the text in the center. Decide on screen. And put padding on this text as well. 10. And left will do 30 and right will do 30. Okay. Something like that. And then when I want to do a button to hover over this, I'm going to create an animation down here. So we'll do a very simple animation. We'll do hover animation. And then I open this up and add the track for the progress bar. And then add the % as a track here. And add a keyframe. And then very quickly, like 0.35 will be fine. Change it to 1. So it animates like this when I hover my mouse over it. Okay. Yeah, and you can do anything else. You can make it grow, shrink, whatever it is you want to do. So once you've done that and you've done all the animations, it's done, cool. I would also make another one, but this one would be duplicated and it'd be exactly the same. I'll just change the name of it. I won't even change any of the keys, so like doing it backwards. Because then on the unhover, I can have a different event tied to it. So on the button here, we've got the on hovered event. Do that. And then trigger and then forwards. And then when it is unhovered, we do unhover. So different animation, but it is the same animation. It's different. It's just a copy of it. I said forward, so I do backwards. Play animation reverse. There you go. Okay. And that's it, all right? And then in my widget down here, I'd bring in that button. I'd go into my here, go button, and button custom. It is. I'll just replace it with this one. So replace with, I'll have to delete the text inside first of all. Replace with button custom. Okay, and there's my custom button. And if I want to make it editable, I just make the text inside of it a variable. And on the graph of this, we just have a variable in here. So display text, yeah, string or something, or actually probably be better for text value. And then on the pre-construct, we just drag that out and set that to the text display text. And what you do is you just make this editable. So just make it editable like this. Compile, save. So now over here, I can type in here, this one can be play act. And when I hover over it, it's going to trigger the hover events. But then you think, okay, well then how do you do the click events? Because it's a button inside of something else. Well, what you do is go to the button, add on clicked. And in here, you go into your event dispatchers and do on button clicked. And you just call that whenever you click the button. Oh. So now back on my parent widget, I can select this. And if you go down the bottom right, you'll see on button clicked is now an event. You can click on plus and there it is. And then you can make it do whatever you want to do. Okay. Yeah. Mariah, what's the difference between text and string variables? Good question. So string variables are cheaper and quicker for the computer to read and modify and do all that sort of work too. However, text values are picked up by the localization tools. So if you want some text to be localized, like text from the button, for example, into other languages, their localization tool will pick up anything that's been labeled as text. So if it's been labeled as text, it will appear in the localization tool and output it here. So if you go to tools, localization here, and you can I do have to do a whole video on this, but you can make it pass through it and fetch all the words, and then you can output it and input it with the translations. But yeah, that's it. Green Humanzes. Can you use a timer and a component for a food drain or water drain, etc.? Yeah, of course you can. Just put it for however long you want it to tick away and how much to do for, but yeah. Good evening, Krusty. Good to see you. Would you make a series of Common UI? Yeah, at some point we will be making a series on that. Yeah. It's Common UI, by the way. If you don't know what it is, it's basically just like someone's made a lot of stuff already in the user interface here to work, without having to do a lot of pre-built stuff that you can edit. Essentially what it is. But I believe on the roadmap for 5.4, they're bringing in some nice new changes to the UMG. One big thing that Common UI does that I really, really like, and I wish the UMG in general had it, was style assets. So in Common UI, you can create a style asset, like just another asset here, which contains a style map. And rather than saying like the appearance tab of saying like, okay, the brush, like this bit, image size, tint, draw as, tint, all that stuff, this all appearance stuff could be set as a single asset, and that way you can make it uniform throughout the whole entire project. Could you please make a Death Stranding remake? I'm just one man. I can try, but I'm just one man who do not have a team of people behind me to make something like that. Just as yeah. Sage, how you pronounce it? 117. I have problems implementing a simple 180 turn animation for my first side scroller game. Do you have any experience with this? So I'm gonna guess what you're referring to is, and I've done a video on it before. I think pretty sure I've done a video on it. Pretty sure I've done a video on it. So we go to camera boom, you know, turn off that, and turn it around. Okay, so I think what you have, oh, hang on, I need to change which way it's going. Just turn that off. This is left and right, so I think that's that direction, and I don't need to forward and backwards. So what I'm guessing is like this bit, like where you can do half, it does half turns, it doesn't fully turn. Yeah. So the reason why you get that is because the control rotation of the character has been told to follow its movement, but the rotation rate is not fast enough to turn it all the way around. So you got two things you can do. One, you can get rid of the rotation rate, but you lose the smoothness in the turning. It'll just be the snap turn. Case in point of how you do that. As I said, this is probably the easiest, quickest way, but not the best looking one. So all you do is go into my class defaults and turn on use controller rotation yaw. When you turn that on, oh no, we're not using control rotation, are we? Damn. I can't do that. Sorry, my bad. The second thing you have to do is you round up the values of the movement rotation. So when it's moving and stopped moving, you put in a target rotation that you want to go. So you're keeping store of this value here, basically. Like that, whatever. So when you push left and right, it changes to -1 or 1. That's what it's doing, okay? And then on a tick event, because you need to smoothly transition, you're just updating the target of that based upon the rotation. So if you take the character movement here, what would be the best way of doing this, actually? Set actor rotation, and it'll be interp 2, that in there, and multiply a rotator. Oh wait, we can't do that. Multiply, there you go, do it that way. So the target of this would be the rotation of 0, 0 of its current rotation. All right, character rotation. No, which way do you want to go? 0, 0, 0. I can't remember now how I did this. Brain's falling asleep. I did it in the Mario game. What did I do? Basically, you have to keep it going with the turn. So that one. Active rotation, and I guess you could just select it. Select rotator, and say if this is less than 0, that'll be 180, and the other one will be 0. Delta time 4. Yeah, that'll do. So forwards. No. Why is it doing that? 180 to rotation. Right, F interp. Oh, it's because I'm changing X, not the Z value. Whoops, my bad. There we go. Yeah. So I tap the key and he turns around. You just have to make sure you turn off the rotation setting. So it has no rotation settings because you're handling the rotation yourself. Might make it a bit faster than that. Interp speed will change to like 10. Yeah, like that. There you go. There you go. Something like that. So you manage the rotation yourself to stop it from going ahead. What's the best way to make a camera to look ahead in a top-down setup using WASD and the mouse? Okay, so let me make this top-down quickly. I'm doing a lot of stuff I just did. We still want that to go direction And I want this to be one in that direction. The camera. Be like this. And we'll do orient, rotation to movement. Right, I think I got it back to normal. I need to flip the axes around. So that's up, down, that's left and right. Okay. That'd be 1, 0, 0, 1. Yeah, okay. So if you want the camera to look ahead of you, there's a couple of things you can do. So the camera boom, where the camera's attached to, can be offset. So down here you see a socket offset, target offset. You can offset the camera ahead of it. So if you want, you can put the target offset a lot more forwards. This is in is this world or relative? World space, yeah, world space. So it went in the X here. We go 100. No, that's not right. Socket offset then. 100. No, that is relative to the camera. What do I do then? Let's do 300 then. Okay, that must be right. In target offset. And so the camera's going to look ahead of where the player is, okay? But as you see, this is world position 1, so I've got the wrong one. Oh. So it'd be socket offset, which would be, in this case, would be this one. Yeah, there you go. See, now it's looking ahead, I was going to say. Right, sod the offset, you just move it. You can just move it like this. So it looks ahead of them. But you're going to get this sort of behavior a lot of the time. So when you get that behavior, you want to turn on lag to smooth it out a bit. So on camera boom, we go to enable camera lag. And we go, yeah, you can tweak the lag speed however you want. I'll leave it like 10 for now. And adjust as I need to. Maybe a bit smaller. But you can also make it follow the mouse if you want and look at where the mouse is going. There's loads of ways you can do it. Depends on what you're trying to effect you're going for. But yeah, there's something you can do. So like do 3 maybe. And so you get like a bit more lag ahead leading. No. There's a few ways of doing it. Make it look where the mouse is. You can make it camera separate from the player camera. You know, there's all sorts of things you can do. Let's put that back as it was. Right, we should be back to relative normal. Oops, no. And why can't I move it? Oh, I didn't turn that on. There we go. Next idea. With UI design, is it bad practice to place canvas panels inside of a size box, onto the box, etc.? Not necessarily. You have to understand though what canvas panels are actually doing. So canvas panels are going to be useful for absolute positioning. So if you can't rely on padding or anything like that, then sometimes canvas panel is the way you need to go. And I have had to use it before inside of other things. That's definite. But it's very much a case using it for the right reasons. I've seen a lot of people in projects I've helped out on. They've made the whole UI using canvas panels, which makes things a lot messy, especially when you deal with screens that change size. So it may look right on one side screen, but then you go on a different size screen and it messes it all up. So that's something to really, really be aware of. Yeah. Klaus, is there any way to add triangles to an existing mesh in modeling mode? Sometimes regret not having enough flexibility after I start editing a lot. Yeah, I believe there is. Let me have a look. So let's have a look here. I mean, you can subdivide things, but subdivide will do the whole thing, I think. I don't think you can do... and we don't want to smooth it. No. No, that ain't gonna work it. Oh well, okay, we're not doing subdivide. But yeah, if you want to make it more like more polys inside of it, you just go into collective face in polygroup edit or any other mesh modeling mode, and you can insert edges, inset faces, offset faces, extrusions, all the bevels, those sort of things. So do it. You can also retriangulate. So when you do that, it will retriangulate whatever triangles you've got in there. This one's pretty simple. There's nothing much to be doing there. But if I go, for example, to inset and click on this, I can add those sort of details to it. It depends on how you want to break the model up further. If you wanted to do insert edge loops, do that, for example. Add a loop around the whole thing. You typically want to keep edge loops going. But the thing you want to avoid when you're modeling is n-gons. The reason why is because when your engine starts converting things to triers, n-gons kind of break stuff. So edge loops are a great way to ensure you don't get that problem. And also makes things easier for UV mapping, animating. Yeah, just a lot nicer to use edge loops. So yeah, you can do edge loop thing. What else is there? Remesh. You can remesh that. Put in how many you want. Triangle count. So that's just 5,000. Let's try it to 8. 6, 8, 10. Ooh. Not liking me to do 10, is it? 12. 18. There you go. So you can do that as well. Triangle edit. You can edit each try and do the same sort of thing. Extrude, inset, offset, all that stuff. Push pulls. Yeah, it's a few things you can do. Next question is: any plans to do a player camera manager tool in the future? Yes, there is. Have you considered this from James McElmore? Have you considered continuing the shooter tour series? There's a lot of common mechanics that it doesn't cover yet, like attachments, penetration, dynamic reticles. Yeah, it's something again on my to-do list of things I want to try and go back to and revamp up, especially the UE5 ways. But one thing we're going to be doing going forward is trying to get on a weekly cadence of series. So, for example, in January, you should get every week a new action RPG episode, and that'll be the case until it's finished. Yeah. Rather than this long waits between episodes, we're going to try and get a bit organized on it and get on top of it a little bit better. So, yes, don't know when, but yes. Is the answer. Thank you for liking the hat. Indian G, is it okay if I'm using enhanced input actions with save game blueprints for my game settings menu? Yeah, of course it is. Cena Ryan, is there a way to make EQS tests run faster? AI for me is just standing still for 2 seconds before results and it's immersion breaking. Should I do it in CPP or create BP copyright system? You're going to really hate trying to do it in C++, so don't do it. EQS itself is just expensive. It depends on what you're trying to achieve. So obviously, if you've got a number of points you're generating, that's going to increase the load time. So decrease that if you can. Try to use far less EQS when you need to. So if you've got like 100 NPCs and you're all trying to run EQS, ask yourself the question, do they really need to run EQS? Probably not. So what you do is swap in and out AI for smart AI as you get closer to them. You change their controllers, you change, whatever. You need to change behavior trees, different tests, whatever you're doing. But you're messing those things up more. It's just about optimizing what you need and what you don't need. If it's taking 2 seconds for them to run and then start moving according to the EQS, that sounds to me like you're doing way too much. And if you're not doing too much, then it sounds like you've got something weirdly wrong with your EQS setup. Because AI generally can be quite fast, but obviously the more you have, it becomes exponentially worse. So, yeah, try to only use it for things that you definitely need to use it for. You wouldn't have it on every enemy. This is why you find in a lot of games, they'll have... you'll have enemies in your levels just not be possessed by anything. They'll be standing still, in like T-pose usually, just doing nothing. And then when you hit a trigger, they'll then turn on. For this exact reason, it's a bit better. Jesse Yules, is it possible to master Unreal, or is it just too big? Depends what you mean by master. If by master you mean know literally everything that's inside of it off the back of your hand, yeah, I don't think anyone can do that. It's too much. But it's not. I would say being a master of Unreal isn't about knowing every single thing it's in there. A master of Unreal is someone who is able to jump in, figure things out without having to rely on other things, external factors to help them. You have common understanding of the engine and how it works and how it uses things and different tools it has. But you may not have expert knowledge in all of it. Like I don't. I definitely don't. But people would say I'm a master of it. But sure. But I don't know everything there is in it. I know a lot, but not everything. But as I say, it comes down to more of like a mindset. Are you able to just sit down and just figure things out? Like if I want to figure something out in Unreal, I'll just load it up and just go. That's where you're at with that, yeah. But it's with any big complex software like this, no, it's impossible for one person to know every single thing. It's just way too much. Especially when you start counting for all the plugins that are in development and or like for example, there's a whole dialogue system. Oh, that's not it. Where is it? Conversation, is it? Yeah, common conversation. So it looks like someone somewhere in Epic started working on a plugin to do dialogue systems directly inside of Unreal without relying on plugins. And yeah, it adds stuff, but I have no idea how it works. I couldn't get it working, but there's something there. Whether or not it'll ever get finished, I don't know. Hey, that's useful. Cascade to NIGO converter. That's cool. That's handy. Didn't know that was there. But I say the plugins, there's like as much as you know there is stuff in the engine, there's a lot more in the plugins that you just don't know about. Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount. So, master, yes, you can master it. Know everything in it, no. Thank you, Mara. I've got no drink. That's all right. I'll make do to the end. Trying to find someone who hasn't had a question answered. Probably. Hayes, how would you move the character in a curvy manner? It works fine with external splines, but kind of breaks with a spline attached to the character itself and setting point, setting location with a timeline. I'm not too sure what you mean and what you're using it for, Hayes. Could you give me a contextual example of what you're trying to achieve? Because, yeah, the problem you're probably having is with splines, when they're attached to something, all their points are not world location points. They are relative. So, if they're part of an actor, all the points are relative to the actor. So you need to convert them all into world location points. You want the character to dash in a curvy way like an arc. In a curvy way. I'm not entirely certain what you mean. Sorry. Like an arc. What, like, so like if they're locked onto someone, they dash around them? Is that what you're trying to talk about? Is that what you're trying to achieve? Yeah, kinda. Right, okay. Yeah, so an easier way of doing that is on your movement inputs when you're doing this sort of stuff. Let's say for left and right here, it's using the right vector of my control rotation, right? But what I would to really do is take the right vector of the direction between me and my target. Okay, so let's say I don't know. Get direction. Okay, first of all. And we'll go from my location to 0, 0, 0. Okay, for argument's sake. So it'll go to the corner of the map in this case. But that would be like wherever you're trying to focus your attention on, like what you're trying to do there. Like you could do it based upon your camera's rotation, I guess. So actually, let's do that. Let's do it based on the camera's rotation. So get player camera manager. Get forward vector. And we'll do that multiplied by flow of 2000. Yeah, 2000. And then we're going to add that to player's location. Okay, so that's not going to work, is it? Not player's location, from our... Maybe the best way of doing that. It's a fixed point in the world. I'll just do 0, 0, 0. But it'd be like whoever you're targeting towards. Okay, so it'd be that. And then you want to get the right vector of this. Okay, get the rotation first. Get rotation. No, sorry, make rotation. Make rotation from X. And then find right vector. Right. No, go there. And because this 0 point is fixed and this one isn't, you'll get a reaction. See, my character's now going in a circle. Yeah, I'm only holding left and right. But they're going in a circle, like an arc. Yeah? And then you go up close, and you can set me more. Right? But that's because the position that we're trying to dash around or walk around is fixed. So if we're locked on to that location there, that's going to be locked on to that. All right. Alternatively, what you can do is you can lock the camera to it and then get the camera's right vector as well. Either way, you just need a fixed point. In this case, the fixed point is that bit there, but if you're doing a camera, you need to tell your cameras to always look at the target. Okay, so for example, get this be a tick event, and that'll be set control rotation. Oh, get the player controller first. Set control rotation, and that'll be the look at rotation. Look at rotation between get to location, and in this case it'd be 0, 0, 0. So we'll just do make vector. Another one, make vector. So you set the control rotation like that when you're locked on, quite unquote locked on, and then rather than getting the control rotations right vector, you could do, I guess, but you want to get the player camera's rotation. Camera manager, get right vector of that. Instead. And so I do turn off my look and stuff. Hold on. Turn it off. So my camera's now locked to that route, and I can push left and right and it'll rotate around in a circle. So dashing would be the same thing. Like when I push a button, it'll dash around, and you want to lock it to that angle there. So it's better to do it mathematically than to do it with splines, because it's going to be dependent a lot on what's going on. But I say there's loads of ways you can do it. You can also do it with a animation in a sequencer type effect. You know, there's loads. Only got time for a couple more questions. Rodri Gamer, you recommend me learn Blueprint or C++? Learn both if you can, but Blueprint is a great start if you're not used to programming. It'll get you going straight away. C++ in Unreal is a bit difficult. I'd recommend learning C++ in general first, like no Unreal Engine, and then learn it with Unreal Engine a little bit, because there's some concepts in Unreal Engine that don't exist in like normal C++ applications that you have to be aware of. Yeah, so it's a whole other thing to learn. Yeah. Can you give a high-level concept idea of how to do satisfactory like objects moving on a conveyor belt? Not entirely certain. I think we guessed this idea at some point with when we looked at it like 8 years ago. Because they've got such a sheer number of things moving the conveyor belts, I don't think they are static meshes. To have that many static meshes moving is a bit insane. But the thing is, you can interact with them, pick them up, which makes no sense. So I'm guessing it's using instance static meshes at some kind of fashion. Maybe that's all it is. Again, not entirely certain. So instance static meshes, by the way, are a way of making it optimizing static meshes. So for example, let's say I had where am I going? Start content. Props. So you got this chair here, right? And you can what are we doing? Yes, you want to, yeah, you bring it in like that's a normal static mesh. To make it an instant static mesh, you make it part of a blueprint. So there's blueprint here, and you add a. Can I just do ISO? No. Instance static mesh. And give that a mesh. Oh, no, shared. Like that. Okay. And as you see, nothing appears at first. And the reason why is because if you scroll down. Yeah. Scroll down, you see instances. These are copies of it. So basically, a static mesh is relatively expensive because it has to store all this information about it. So it stores like the location, rotation, and scale. Also stores like what mesh it is, what material it is, all these different collision settings, blah 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 blah. It stores all this information. Instant mesh is just stored just transforms, so it's a lot quicker. So you add an instance to it, and you put in a transform as 000, and you say just stores this. Then you can add another one. But this one you could move out here, and it's now got 2. Okay, but all it's storing is just location, rotation, scale. So if that's all it's changing, you can really make quite optimized pieces of work. Oh, like that. Okay, so it may be doing something like this, where it's a lot more optimized, but yeah. I will learn Blueprint, but where? From this channel. It's essentially what you have to do. Yeah. My head's very hot now. Stu Robinson, what do you think about the future of AI in the development of games in the future? Do you see it disrupting the game development industry in any notable ways? Every generation has this, in one shape or another. When computers were first introduced, they feared it'd be the end of typewriters and typists, yeah, and secretaries. They feared it'd be the end of books and learning with the internet. Social media would be the end of people hanging out in real life. As new technology comes on, it doesn't replace, it adapts the culture. So AI is just another tool that you have to learn and use. It can be useful, but it isn't the only tool to use and learn. Yeah. And typists realize when they got the keyboard is that it's basically the same sort of thing. They just got to learn how to use it differently. Same for like artists and programmers and gamers, and like is a tool for you to learn and to use. It's not going to replace anyone's job necessarily, because it isn't the smartest thing in the world. It does lack human creativity. And the other thing you got to remember is that AI, the way AI learns is it learns by like basically reading what other people have said already. It passes information and then regurgitates that out. And if there's no other information, new information for it to learn from, then it can't get any better. So at some point or another, it has to have some original thought injected into the ecosystem. So I'm not worried about it. I think there is. I think it's more a case of like, how do we as creatives adapt and learn this new tool? Everyone gets scared because Photoshop's going to take away all the artists and take away all the traditional artists. It hasn't. They're still here. You know, AI is just another tool, and it happens every generation. Some they get scared of new technology. People freak out. People say they're going to lose their jobs, and what happens? No one loses their job. It's just the jobs change slightly. That's all. So personally, I don't fret it, because, yeah, for example, like AI can't make Mimic. Yeah, a lot of human design element has gone into that. No way an AI could have made that. Yeah, it could have made elements of it, but wouldn't have been able to put the whole piece together. But with that, that brings us to the end of this week's question time, and the last question time of the year 2023. Thank you so much everyone for coming by. We have got one more live show of the year happening this Saturday, for our Christmas giveaway. So if you want to hang out, just chill out and talk fun and answer some questions and give away some cash prizes to everyone, come by on Saturday. It is free to sign up and join. Everyone can take part. You don't have to be a patron, don't have to be a YouTube member, don't have to be a subscriber. But it all does help. So if you want to support the channel, head to patreon.com/Ryan Laley. Get access to all the videos early before everyone else. So we've got some really cool videos coming up just yesterday and more this week about doing more cinematic combat. So if you want to do like fighting where the camera does like whips around, things like that. If you want all that stuff, that's coming. Well, it's already out. One episode's already out on Patreon. We've got more on the way. But yeah. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you on Saturday. Take care. Bye, everyone.